Recording. All right. So, good afternoon, everybody. My report is quite brief. First of all, thanks for everything this year. We've done a lot at the committee level, which is what it's designed for. I appreciate everybody's work at that level. Start thinking about 2016 goals. We've done a really good job with our 2015 goals. So, the executive group is going to meet in the first meeting in January. Will be in person to hammer out some goals. If you have any recommendations or suggestions about things we should be working on as a group, please forward them to me, and we'll make sure those get sent out. Finally, a couple months ago, I asked you specifically how am I doing, what can I be doing better. For those of you that responded, thank you. I will keep tabs on that, and I appreciate your feedback, your honest feedback. Anything for me? Enjoy the holidays if I don't talk anymore. I don't intend to. Mr. Coyle.
Background checks. I do have some blank forms here. If anybody needs one, there's like a few people that still, the non-highlighted are the ones that still owe me forms. I just got a couple of them, so if you see your name up there, you hand it to me. But please get them in. Background checks on the people that have handed them in are done. Your forms have been shredded. And
Are we going to report back or just say they're done and good, or are we going to?
yeah, I figured if they're here, they're good.
Okay, if you're here, you're good. No police at the door? Okay, we're good.
Yeah, there's been no issues.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted and posted on the Mlrems website.
So moved. Seconded by Tom. Any discussion? Changes or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Excuse me, abstentions?
The only other report I have is we're continuing to move forward with the Google Docs project, and we'll hopefully have more for dissemination at our next meeting.
I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you.
Google Docs, more for dissemination at the next meeting.
I heard it fine.
You did, he was talking to you.
Anything else? Anything for Tim? Mr. Hoskins.
What you see up there is what I got.
The finances went out today for the last month. Anything for our treasurer? Dr. Cushman.
As you see it, our syringes are in the United States now and are being packaged. The educational portion is being completed right now, and we hope to be able to go live likely right after Thanksgiving with actual distribution of kits and the training and so forth. So a lot of work. My apologies for the delays. It's a whole new challenge when you're ordering syringes from Denmark and processing them in Arizona and getting through FDA and a bunch of other things. So it's exciting. Spinal motion restriction overall has gone reasonably well. Continue to provide some education to both EMS providers and hospital colleagues. And so I had passed along some additional information on some stuff that was done out in the Western region that may be great supplemental information. It really adds in some context to the state information, which generally lacked it. And then just lastly, the Protocol and Policy Committee has been pretty quiet over the last 4 or 5 months. And that's mostly because the collaborative protocols are really building up. Tentatively, we are trying to shoot for introducing these at the CMAC in May, which is really our next meeting. Because the December meeting was too short. The January meeting, they will not have quorum since it's scheduled at the same time as the National EMS Physicians Conference, and then the May meeting. So that's why that has been quiet. If folks are interested in any of that, certainly contact me and we can get you involved. Other than that, that is pretty much it from my perspective.
All right. Anybody have anything for the good doctor? Thank you. Ben?
So the one thing that I have to share with you is just kind of mostly a thorn in our side. With our new nice signed contracts from New York State came some much different reporting. Their goal was to have council and program agencies provide uniform reporting instead of them having to look at 18 different types of reports. Yes, that's good because the state can actually work with it a little bit better, but the downside of that is we were doing a good job with our reporting and we had to start over. So I met with Mr. Frost on how we are going to work on streamlining the council's report. Essentially, your contract has quite lengthy deliverables that we need to prove to the state that you're doing. So we will work to get everyone unified for those reports. Not very exciting, but it has to happen so that we can continue to get paid. And that is also or probably
Anything for Ben? All right. Thank you. Karen?
I do not have anything to report.
Okay. Anything for Karen? All right.
I'd like to thank everyone who participated in the airport drill. We had a great turnout from EMS, and so better than we thought, so consequently it was a good opportunity for learning for everybody. The New York State Wreck-It drill, we took the opportunity to test our Chempacks. So for all of you who don't know, Chempacks are federal assets that are stored locally in a forward position to treat organophosphate poisonings, whether they occur accidentally or as a result of a terrorist act. Our test really was to determine whether we could get them from their source facility out into the field in a timely fashion. We've long suspected that maybe we can't meet that guideline and get them out there fast enough to make a difference, and I think the drill sort of demonstrated we need to look at alternatives on locations of those assets. So we're working with the state health department, who's working with the feds, to determine if we can take them out of their current facility and put them somewhere more accessible. And lastly, the trunk radio system that's been a blur, I think, for everyone in EMS around the table. The effort by the county to move EMS to the trunk radio system by the end of the year is moving very rapidly. There's a lot of agreements going back and forth, a lot of questions and answers as it relates to the specifics of the equipment, the install process, etc. So we've been working very heartily at that, and I'd like to thank Jim Busey and everyone around the table for their effort in helping doing that. If we can do this, we'll be on a much better system by the end of the year than we currently are. It'll be safer, portables will be much more powerful, clarity is much better. I don't really see a whole lot of downside to it. That's it for EMS.
Anything for Tim? On behalf of the council, I want to extend our appreciation for pushing that forward as well. I mean, I know for our agency, it's roughly $100,000 in radio equipment that's being provided, which is greatly beneficial. I'm sure other agencies are in the same financial situation. So, thank you. Dr. Murray.
Yes, hello. Just quickly, the Patient Safety Committee, that would previously be known as the QA Committee, we now have gone through our new appointments, so we have some new people coming on board, and we also rectified a membership glitch that we had kind of inadvertently. When we reorganized the membership, we had taken away a position previously there, which was one of our academic fellows, and so we brought that position back. We no longer have an EMS. Okay. We no longer have an EMS fellowship, but we have other people in emergency medicine fellow positions that we thought would potentially be appropriate to have on the committee. So that is going to be coming back. So our appointments for 2016 is going to be Liz Darrow, Mark Philippi, Michael Carlotta, Elizabeth Rydchick, forgive me if I said that incorrectly, and then James Neary. That is all.
All right. Anything for REMAC? Or Dr. Murray?
Do you want to just give him a hug?
He didn't know that he was nominated.
Yeah, that's how we just found how we do it. We announce it, they appoint.
Because you're not
It's a
here.
good way to do it. He wasn't in the office one day, so we did his name.
The state meeting is in December. There's still a December meeting, I think.
Yes, it's December 8th and 9th.
All right, so, systems ops. First thing I need to report is that Jason is stepping down from this position for personal reasons, so he will no longer be the systems ops chair. And normally, I would fill that role until we found a new chairperson. However, considering the action that's before the committee, it's not appropriate for me to fill the slot. Therefore, I will not be filling the slot. So we will be looking for someone to step up and fill that slot that's interested. A lot is going to happen very quickly with that because of the actions that are in front of that group. So if you're interested, let me know. In the meantime, Ben has been working with Jason to finalize some things from a distance. They've been working on phone calls and whatnot, so Ben does have a report.
So we have two things that we have to chat about. The first is the Kylerville operating certificate. So Kylerville Ambulance wants to form a separate entity than their fire department for billing reasons. Their application was deemed complete by our body. New York State would not conduct the fitness and competency review because they had issues with some of the language in the bylaws, particularly that there was a requirement in the bylaws for the ambulance that you must be a member of the fire department, and that the officers would be appointed by the fire department. So the state deemed that it was not two separate entities, that it was in fact one controlling the other. This week we received some updated fitness and competency forms for new members from their attorney, but we didn't receive anything else. So as of right now, there is no action to take. Just know that probably by January we'll have a better answer. I think the state is about as perplexed as I am. We were emailing back and forth today. So more to come on Kylerville. The second matter in front of us that will require a vote. Today I received from our hearing officer for the Henrietta Volunteer Ambulance expansion into provide service in the town of Rush. We had some months ago received the application and ran into just a little bit of a hiccup because of the attorney that we were trying to use for this. So the hearing officer report from Stephen Cohen today says that this application is, I'll read it for the record. For the reasons stated herein, it is the recommendation of this hearing officer that the application for expansion should be approved. I find the application was complete and timely submitted. So it's the next step is we have to vote to ensure that this application, to affirm that we believe that this is complete. And then it moves on for fitness and competency. Reg will have to get me a new systems ops chair because after the fitness and competency review, it has to have a public hearing because this is an expansion of territory. So we'll need to get that set up. But since I am not a member of council, I cannot actually put the motion on the table for you. And we, based on our history with New York State, I would recommend we do this as a roll call vote so that I don't have to come back to you guys in January and say that the state's demanding it be a roll call vote. The policy doesn't say that. I did take the liberty of giving some slightly precise language based on our last meeting when we wanted to, if you would look at that, make sure you agree with that, and or cross it out and write your new language.
Hurry up.
The motion reads, to deem the certificate of need expansion of territory application by Henrietta Volunteer Ambulance into Rush as complete and to be forwarded to the New York State Bureau of EMS and Trauma for fitness and competency review.
Seconded.
Could you just jot down 2 seconds for me? I appreciate it. I'm getting good at knowing what the state wants for all of these. We'll have lots
As
of
soon as you
these.
figure it out,
Okay, great.
Okay, roll call vote. Reg Allen?
All right, I abstain.
Start, I abstain.
Mine Lancer?
Can I phone a friend?
Sure. Bill Arnold?
Yes.
Donna Bailey? Thomas Bonfiglio?
Yes.
Jason Bortle? Alex Cook?
Yes.
Thomas Coyle?
yes.
Deb Curran?
Yes.
Jeremy Cushman?
Yes.
Tim Sopransky?
Yes.
Karen Dewar?
Yes.
Tim Frost? Yes. George Glessner?
Yes.
Aaron Horowitz?
Yes.
Mike Hoskins?
Yes.
Julie Jordan?
Yes.
Rommel Kirchhoff?
Yes.
Tom Kirchhoff?
Yes.
Gordy Kluber?
Yes.
Elizabeth Murray?
Yes.
Mick Nolte? Bill Palma?
Yes.
Mark Philippi?
Yes.
Eric Rathfelder?
Yes.
Gwen Williams? Motion passes 21 yes, 0 no's, 1 abstention, and 2 absentees. Very absentee, I apologize.
Your numbers go.
Good catch. Looking at the visualization.
That is it for systems ops. Thank you, sir. I will forward this to New York State.
So, if anybody's interested in that pristine title, please let me know. And I've been told by Jason he's going to stay on this committee, he just can't share it. All right? Any G?
Okay, got a lot going on today, so I'll get right to it. I'm going to pass down a copy of the amendment that everyone should have received electronically, just for the record, so that it can be viewed on the record here, as well as copies of today's ballot for elections. Today, as you know, is elections for council, REMAC, and for officer seats for council. The council elects members to the REMAC. The seats that are open at the current time for council, actually there are a few that are open, but the ones that we are voting on today are 2 seats for healthcare representative.
Yes.
Thank you. That are actually a re-election of those 2 seats. Also a seat for the 3rd Battalion Transport. I don't see Mr. Tracy here today, but he said he might not be able to make it, but Mr. Tom Tracy for the 3rd Battalion Transport. For REMAC, appointments is going to depend on our approval of the circulating amendment, which I should ask for a vote on before we go to voting, on the election rather. But that will include the reappointment of the physicians to the hospital seats, a reappointment of Dr. Benestrowski to the at-large physician seat, and election of Bill Palma to the non-voting BLS provider seat. Following that, our election for council officers.
Bill Arnold.
Did I do that again? Bill Arnold. See, I did that again. Last time. Bill Arnold, I'm sorry, for opposite of.
You can rest easy now, Bill.
Bill Arnold for the election. The officer elections, Reg Allen for chair, Mike Hoskins for treasurer, Tom Quayle for vice chair, and secretary shows open as I did not have the paperwork in hand during the appropriate deadline. Therefore, under the current bylaws, the section 6.06, the chair has the right to appoint a pro tem secretary until we can hold election in January for that seat. Having said all that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the amendment as been circulated to the REMAC bylaws. Such amendment, in short, to allow us to appoint positions who are representing hospital systems based on the hospital administrator or department chair, rather than having a formal letter of intent and that whole process that we have had in the past. So, move Mr. Quayle, seconded by Mr. Arnold.
Pleasure, Palma. Is there a hyphen in there? No. We're not that close here.
Any discussion?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, passes.
Amendment passes, thank you. That moves us into the elections. As there are no opposed seats, I would offer that we could entertain a motion to have the secretary pass one ballot on behalf of council with a approval of the council members. I'll need a motion and a second.
Make that motion.
Dr. Murray, second by Ms. Curran. Chairman? So the motion is to allow the secretary to cast one vote for the election of the unopposed seats for council member as distributed.
We get a vote on the motion, Reg.
Oh, sorry, I was reading. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? All right, Dr. Murray, do you want to be secretary next year?
Nope.
Tom?
I don't mean to be disruptive. I had a question about systems and we move real quickly.
Sorry.
I don't want to steal your thunder either, Mark.
No,
You're okay. Could you just clarify the state of the Rural Metro CON transfer? I know that we sent it back to the state as complete. Is there more action that we need to take as a council?
No, they haven't sent anything back.
Because each council does things a little bit differently,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm asking.
Right, so the way we did it before, when you guys changed hands 18 months ago or whatever that was, the state did them all as a whole, they sent back the FNC results as a whole, and then we were able to just vote and take action. I haven't received from Dan Clayton yet the final thumbs up result of your FNC.
Okay.
It was my understanding, did your council receive it, or?
Mike Guerrero with Vice President of Operations for Rural Metro. The FNCs have been sent out, 4 councils have voted so far. The FNCs came back fine as all the election. So I'm not sure why you didn't get
No, that's helpful to know, so I'll follow up with the state. But
I thought it would have been received by now if we were going to receive it.
It's for anyone that's not aware, for a changing of ownership, all that we're allowed to vote on is the results of the FNC anyways. So it's kind of silly that the state even has us vote. We just vote to approve. So I'll make sure that that's on systems for January's agenda.
Yeah, my concern is that there's an Article 30 in the policy statement 0606. It also says you can't create an undue or unjust situation for us. And unfortunately, we're kind of under the gun because our merger was already done essentially. And I agree, it's kind of crazy to get people after the fact, but that's unfortunately the way it works. So I just need to figure out what the drivers of the delay. If we deemed the application dated in September, correct? And you said it dated with Dan Clayton?
Yes.
Okay, he has not responded back to it at all?
No.
The only information we got from the state was a very strongly worded letter to all the councils saying that you had to have this reviewed and voted on in a short order. There's been nothing else.
Okay.
So it leads me to believe there was other councils that were not doing it correctly, based on the letter that we got. But it didn't say.
Yeah, the concern was it just last time that we went through this, it lingered for a very long period of time. And if you read Article 30, it's supposed to be a fairly expedient process. process, not just treating either party.
You realize you're dealing with the state of New York.
I know, that's right. So, let me make a call to review it and find out. We should have gotten it back. Literally, all the other regional councils have gotten it back within 48 hours to send it. They've got it by email and it's phone.
That would be my assumption. I'm emailing Dan Clayton right now.
Yeah, it's fine.
That'll.
All right.
Way back.
Back to you, Mark.
Okay, my apologies, this side of the room didn't get the handout, so I'm handing it out now. That includes the amendment and the balance, just so that you have that to look at. Insofar as the officer elections, I would just feel more comfortable if we had a separate vote of council and officer elections, only insofar as, just to make sure that, I don't know, in this case, Mr. Frost's position rests on the decision of the chair. So to have an actual ballot seems to make sense to me. So if I could just ask everyone to check off the officer ballot and forward that back to me, please. The other positions, I think I'm very comfortable with the secretary casting one vote, but since his position is predicated on the officer election, just after we have an actual physical ballot.
Sorry.
Yeah, check and act whatever.
Council seats, Remax seats. We're gonna cast one ballot.
But you're not running, so you can't.
So are we only doing the officers then?
Oh, right.
Just the officers then, Mark, is what you're suggesting?
Do we need to, wait, do we need to amend, or can friendly amendments require a motion then, that we will in fact cast paper ballots for the elected officer seats, but you will cast a ballot for the Remax seats and the council seats.
Second.
Just the officer.
So the amendment, or the motion was amended to only have the secretary cast one vote for each of the council and Remax seats, and then the officers would be voted on separately.
And my apologies, I thought that was what we were voting on first, so that was misunderstood, and thank you for clarifying that, Dr. Murray.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Abstention?
Thank you. Lastly, for us in NEG, we've been working, as you know, for the last year on the ethics and conduct policy. It was originally intended to be a short document. It has grown through course of requirement to about 10 pages. For that reason, I've sent it out for review. I don't expect that we will vote on it today. However, I would like to have a motion at the table just so that we can discuss to approve the ethics and conduct policy as written. And if there is discussion to amend and change that, by all means, we will postpone the vote and table it until next week.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rathmiller. Mr. Cook?
You make what motion?
To approve the ethics and conduct policy as written.
Thank you. Are you seconding that? I am. All right. Thank you. Discussion.
Someone have a chance to look at it? I know it was just-
Mark, I looked at it and I only skimmed through it right now, but there's certainly, I think, a few little things that at the very least we need to clean up in terms of editing, so I would propose, like you said, that we wait. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to get back to it yet, but I think there's at least a few things that, just some words, I would suggest we look at.
Yeah, I would add to that conversation that as this document is written, it does replace two existing policies that I think this should be reviewed over top of, as well as possible the incorporation of our whistleblower policy.
So to add on to that, today I had a discussion with the Attorney General's office, who finally got back to me. So any of you members know that was quite short. And based on what I understand, most of the wording regarding the fraud document in that is correct. However, my representative from the AG's office recommended that whistleblower be added to it, and as we have a standalone policy, it only makes sense to include that in another document.
Any other discussion?
We table the matter until next month?
January.
January, I'm sorry.
Or next month if you're going to be here. We won't.
Okay. So any comments or edits, please forward them on to me, and I will forward them on to AG. Our next meeting is first week of December. Second week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Table. Thank you. Anything else for Mark? All right, we can have the minutes show that I will appoint Tim Frost secretary from January 1st until January 25th, until the next election. Don't forget we're meeting on the 25th, not the 7th. I think it's the 25th. I'll know in a minute when I fill the slide. Here, Donna's attending to a family matter, so Deb is going to give her a report.
Yep, we've been working on the EMS for next year, and part of that discussion was whether or not we were going to have STEP be a participant in that, and we have all agreed to not include STEP into that event. And the other thing is that Donna has distributed the awards packet, so please make sure you receive them and take the time to fill them out and nominate members within your respective agencies.
All right, any discussion regarding staff? The committee is very much interested in continuing our EMS week activities during that week rather than supporting staff in their endeavors. It's obviously a financial decision as much as anything. So if there's no discussion, we don't have to take any action because it's not something we normally do. It's not a budgeted item. So if everyone's okay with it, we'll let it lie. I'll let staff know that we're going to continue in our endeavors and wish them luck in theirs. Is that acceptable? All right. And thank you again. The peer committee, as other committees, all the other committees have done a great job this year. Thank you. You get your award stuff in. It's always an issue every year. There's lots of good things going on, so send them in so they can review them.
When's the due date?
I don't remember. You know when the due date was? I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I believe it's February 15th.
Yeah, January 1st.
But yeah, that was Pier's point. They put it out early,
Right.
offered the additional service of assisting you with your packets. One of the things that our peer committee identified is Mlrems never has any statewide winners, even though we know that we have folks that are definitely
Well, never's a long time. We had this.
in a long time.
No, just a couple years ago we had Matt Sheriff on the state.
Yep.
So the peer committee is more than willing to help folks clean up their applications and get them submitted so that we don't have one person running against one person for several years.
All right, so Pier's willing to help you submit those. All right. Eric?
Just briefly, number 2, there's going to be a CIU on Wednesday 12/9 and Wednesday 12/16 for if your agency has CLIs or CICs that need to do that. So it'll be Wednesday, December 9th, starting at 6 o'clock, and Wednesday, December 16th, starting at 6 o'clock p.m. at the College Town office, program agency office. First night will be AHA updates, so if the person has already received their AHA updates through another means, then they can just attend the second night and get the remainder of the 6 hours they need for their 3-year commitment. If they haven't received AHA updates, they go to both nights, and that's their whole CIU requirement for the 3-year requirement. And then number 4, so I'm going to sort of just set the stage here and then ask that after I'm finished explaining what training and ed discussed and decided, because it's, what we decided is not binding. I'm going to ask that somebody make a motion from council so that we can discuss this matter. In the May meeting of the council, which I wasn't at, Henrietta's course sponsor application to the state was discussed and approved unanimously. The state then sent a letter back to us to Mlrems, saying that if a council has a standing training and ed committee, that the application has to first be discussed and vetted through the training and ed committee, then brought to Mlrems council, and we didn't do that. So we had to go back, and training and ed had to evaluate Henrietta's course sponsor application for 2 things. To evaluate it based on the size of the student pool and the impact that an additional course sponsor would have on the current regional course sponsors. And then secondly, on the ability of existing course sponsors to sustain an adequate student body size. That was the charge from the state to training and ed to evaluate this application. If you look at page 72 of the documents Reg sent out to us for this meeting, that's what the council has to evaluate it on. And what it says that we as a council have to evaluate it on is an unbiased review with consideration of how the application will affect the current and future EMS training plans that the council has, and which addresses the training needs of the region as a whole. That's the overarching factor for our council. If Mlrems were a course sponsor, we would only evaluate it based on the 2 things that training and ed evaluated it based on. However, Mlrems is only a specialty course sponsor. Therefore, our council can evaluate it on that overarching goal or overarching thing, and then also the 2 things training and ed evaluated it on. We have to recommend the application in one of 3 manners, either with approval without reservation, approval with contingencies, or not recommend approval. At training and ed, Henrietta presented to us their reasoning for becoming a course sponsor. Their idea was that they would like to do BLS and ALS core content annually, as they currently do, and an EMT original annually. Linda discussed that Henrietta is a premier training facility in our region, and this is part of the next steps in their goals, that they reach an underserved geographical population, the lower Monroe County and upper Livingston County, and that they have a state-of-the-art SIM program that they bring to the table that other course sponsors do not. They brought up some cost considerations for students and provided data showing that our region, Monroe-Livingston region, has fewer course sponsors per population than all but, I think, one other region of the state. Is that accurate?
Yes, so the Buffalo area has 4, but they are also close proximity to Niagara Falls, which has 14. So between the 2 of them, there's 16 or 17.
The Training and Ed Committee membership had concerns about leaving an inadequate student pool for the current course sponsors, and presented information and that about means that they've used to address student needs in the past, whether it be working with other agencies and getting a course number for them by working with those agencies and other CICs. And Aaron provided a map that I included, or that Reg included, which I don't know if the overlays are in there correctly yet, because I tried a bunch of times and for some reason it kept messing up. But the sum and substance of the map is this: it's all the towns and jurisdictions in Monroe County, and okay, but
Just left over from
point is, it shows where courses have been taught in the past 5 years from the current course sponsors, and shows a wide geographical distribution of those courses.
Or only Monroe.
two of the course
Sorry.
sponsorships just in Monroe.
So for MCC and for Monroe Ambulance? So based on all that information, the Training and Ed Committee voted as requested by the state. There was a representative of each of the current course sponsors in Monroe and Livingston County at our meeting, and the Training and Ed Committee voted that the application should not be approved. 9 against, 5. 9 that it should not be approved, 5 that it should, 2 abstentions. So I present that all to you to get it in the minutes so that we follow the appropriate procedure as laid out by the state. And I'm sure that people have things to discuss about it, but I ask that somebody make a motion of some kind so that we can open up further discussion on it. I just don't want to be the person to make that motion because I don't want to make a negative motion, and Training and Ed voted to not approve the application. So I thought it would be more appropriate for somebody to make a positive motion to approve the application so that we could have discussion.
Or perhaps a motion to support Training and Ed's findings.
Whatever
Would that be
somebody wants to make a
acceptable
motion.
Would that be acceptable to open the floor?
Do we need a motion to discuss it?
Yeah, you're supposed to have a motion in a second.
Motion second. I'll motion that that the council approve Mlrems' application for training course sponsor.
All right, we have a motion in a second.
So is the intention of this to lead to a roll call vote?
Yes. So I will preface this with, I assume everyone read the conflict of interest policy. So if you have a conflict, as I believe I do, you need to state it. And if you are so inclined, based on this, that you have an inability to vote, you need to state that as well. So my conflict is pretty clear. I will not be participating in the discussion. However, based on our policy, I can. I'm just not going to. So.
Question? How many representatives are with the fire departments who do a lot of the BLS were they represented on the training committee? Is there a huge
On the
need
Training
there?
Ed Committee?
Yeah.
There were 2 city fire representatives and
You're from like the county fire? From the county fire, because I hear a lot of those guys with issues with finance and everything.
Brian Bartlett was there representing Bush's Basin Fire Department, and I believe that was it.
I also spoke for First with the city.
There were CICs present that work within volunteer agencies as well, that who at the committee and spoke about it.
I guess one question, where do some of these agencies get their training from if they're not marked?
So the map was put together to represent class locations that were held within the last several years. If you look at a 5-year time period, just to show where those classes are, they weren't specific to those locations. It's just geographically where they were placed to meet the needs of the students that were seeking training at that point in time.
Volume is.
For the course sponsorships, and I'm not sure if I have a conflict, so I work for Monroe, but my job doesn't really depend on being being a course sponsor administrator. So if I do, please feel free to stop me. But I read it, I don't think that I do. I'm sorry, your question was?
I was saying volume, but
Mhm.
volume.
The core sponsors that were present all shared concerns with the ability to continue on with business because we struggle with a dwindling student population. So that was shared by all 4 core sponsorships that are present in Winter Livingston. Karen, you want to add to Livingston?
So Livingston County offers 4 courses a year, one in Lima, which we feel does serve the north part of the county. Enrollment in that course typically is a little low, but we feel strongly that we need to run that course anyway, because geographically we want to be able to serve that area. We hold 2 courses in the center of the county annually, and then we hold a course in Dansville. So we have done that for probably as long as Livingston County has been a course sponsor. I will say, approving another course sponsor for Livingston County, which I don't know, I didn't know previously whether that was the intent of Henrietta to come to Livingston County to teach EMT classes. That would absolutely negatively impact the enrollment for the Livingston County course sponsor. Gordy is one of my CLIs. He's nodding in agreement. But I have since also asked Reg if it is the intention of Henrietta to come to Livingston County to teach EMT classes, and he told me no. So that's Livingston County's position.
For what I can speak on, the other core sponsorships in Monroe County have shared our same concerns that we've been forced to cancel classes because of low student enrollment. We're all willing to teach wherever there's a need. In fact, one of the things that was pointed out in training and ed is Monroe Ambulance has currently shared, or for lack of a better term, enabled Henrietta to gain a course number so that they could teach to maintain the CIC certifications that they need to with their instructors that are currently on file. So all core sponsorships collectively agreed in that room that they would do whatever means are necessary to help support the training needs in the Monroe Livingston region, and that adding another sponsorship would dilute the pool, which would further dilute the funds and possibly not enable us to do that.
Do we have any data in terms of trending statistics for students? How many are expected, when they're expected, whether it's up or down over the years?
I can share our data for Monroe Ambulance's core sponsorship. As far as the other core sponsorships, I can't speak for
I'm
them.
speaking more of the overall students' position.
We didn't have that data at training, and in fact, the amount of data we were able to compile, thanks to Aaron, Nicole, and Linda, was remarkable considering what the state gave us, which was nothing except for requirements to base this on data, and then told us they have no data.
One of the facts that was shared was population versus core sponsorships. So I contacted the state and I said, could you share with me how active those core sponsorships are? One region has 14. Do all 14 teach? Is there a student body that sustains that? And the state was unable to produce that information. The response that I got from Jean Taylor when I spoke to her was, it's up to each region to know what is best for their region. We rely on the Training and Ed Committee, we rely on the core sponsors to tell us this is what works for our area, this is what doesn't work for our area. So it's hard to take data and qualify it without any supporting information on that. So we went with what we have and what we know that works for us as core sponsors. There were others that spoke besides the core sponsors that were present in the Training and Ed Committee, just to point out.
How many courses have you guys run this year?
We currently have 10 right now. It's in process right now.
How many have you canceled?
I didn't bring that information to this. I can share that with this group.
What
I
was your
just don't
second
have it.
My question was, first, how many courses is Monroe offering this year? I was also wondering how many classes they have canceled due to lack of enrollment. And then also, do you guys have any information? Are the RFB classes closed? Are they open?
They are state courses that are open, and Darren made it very clear to the group to point that out, that they are open to anybody that
They are
wants to take
open,
those classes.
however, they don't make it public, number one, and that was a concern that was brought back. My first battalion coordinator came on, is that RFD is not viewed or even considered in student activities because they really don't open their classes up to outside fire departments, specifically talking about my fire first responders who don't run ambulances and are looking to get their guys through classes. RFD is not an option.
Yeah, I can't.
True. There's an RFD program downtown that runs every semester.
Correct, but to the county fire departments, it is not made public, and to try and get a person into that class has been a challenge.
I'm not sure what the challenge would be.
This just comes from the fire chiefs, so.
It shouldn't be a challenge. I mean, it's published and it's public class. I mean, the class is full right now. 25 students now.
You know, to give an idea of the struggles we have, we're currently teaching a class with 7 students that we feel we've heavily advertised. We placed it on the Mlrems website. We sent it out to individual fire departments. We passed flyers out literally door to door. We're having a class. You know, we struggle to cover costs to provide these classes, and our concern, which is shared by the other core sponsorships, is they too would struggle. Even losing one student becomes significant. You know, having a core sponsorship isn't a huge moneymaker. It's about providing education, but you need the funding to pay the instructors and to pay for the lab materials to do that. So our concern is, you know, are we able to continue? And that was shared by the others as well.
I just want to add, I know I brought it up, but I said a lot of words, and I was looking at stuff written down, so it was probably easy for me to understand it. But we have just discussed a lot about the size of the student pool and the ability of existing core sponsors to sustain an adequate student body. But the overarching number one thing we're supposed to be evaluating this based on as a council is an unbiased review with consideration of how the application will affect our current and future EMS training plans, and which address the needs of the region as a whole. So I just want to point that out because training and ed had to focus solely on those lower 2 objectives because we have representatives from all the core sponsors, but I just don't want to lose that in this discussion, that's all. So, just wanted to-
I think they're related, aren't they? I mean, we are discussing the overall future plan and such.
Well, I don't know, Corey, I would, I almost think that we're missing something here, and that is, what are the future plans for the region? Where are we going? Right now, we're talking about sustainability, what we've got, and whether or not we're able to manage that, and I'll throw the 800-pound elephant that's in the room out there, FCC's ability to continue offering courses and the cost that they need to in order to run a college class versus other agencies who might be able to run it for less because they don't have the overhead of a college tuition program. I don't know, but where are we going in terms of what programs do we need to offer the community? What programs does our system want to see? I gotta say, SIM is up there, and everybody's talking about it. And certainly when I was working at Metro in management position, we were talking about a SIM program. RFD's talked about a SIM program. I'm sure you're looking into a SIM program. That's something that we have to consider.
So I think that's important information, but being a core sponsorship shouldn't mean that it's, you know, it should be available or perhaps in consideration for other core sponsorships to use. For example, we are providing a course, and I'm using the wrong words here, but we're helping Henrietta teach under core sponsorship to maintain renewal of the CIC. It's our core sponsorship providing the number, utilizing the sim lab. So one of the points that I've made in training and that over and over is we all need to figure out how to work together, consolidate our resources to make sure the best needs are met, or the needs are met for the people that need training in the room. Having a core sponsorship doesn't mean that that's going to make those needs met. It doesn't mean that it's not. You know, my personal feeling is take what we have in place, make it work better, so that we can continue to grow the pool of EMS students.
Was there a business plan presented along with the application? So directly, is there additional tuition that was going to be proposed by Henrietta to teach classes, or were they going to rely simply on the state reimbursement?
Linda, are you able to address that?
We will be able to take state reimbursement,
Okay.
which is $700 per student.
So I don't understand what the objection would be if the state's going to reimburse every program equally. There's a finite number of people that want to become EMTs. Why wouldn't Henrietta be able to do it just as well as anybody else, or for the same money, if that's what they're willing to do?
I don't think that was the question. I think having enough students to sustain that, 'cause there's a certain bottom line that needs to be met in order to teach the class. You have to pay the instructor, you have to turn the lights, and you have to turn the heat on. So
But
that
you don't
was-
have expense if you don't run the course, right?
You don't, that's correct, but then you also might be limiting students if you stop running courses. So if Henrietta has a course, and then the other course sponsorships can't teach perhaps in the northern part of the county, then you might be blocking out some of those students.
Is there a threshold, is there a cutoff for the number of students?
It depends on your
before you make
payroll.
it go?
You know, each course sponsorship gave their numbers, so it varies depending on what your costs are.
I know MCC is the most
MCC was asked,
expensive.
yeah, they were asked that question.
For-
Nicole said they're running one with 7 people right now, so she didn't necessarily have a strict
That's
cutoff.
somewhere around there.
I don't think 7 was her ideal, but she was making
Right.
the point that they are running.
At 7, you're making $4,900 for 180 hours of CIC labor, plus all the additional CLI labor that goes into it. So it's a pretty tight budget.
So just as a point of order from rereading, the CRR that was part of the document from the state, it says that the council, if it's not a course sponsor, may consider the population and the ability to sustain that kind of stuff. The department is the one who must consider it, meaning the State Department of Health must consider it. So we have an option to consider everything that's being discussed here, or we have an option to just accept that it's a complete, that they can perform the service and recommend on. So we have 2 ways of doing that. We don't have to make a determination of the population that support another program.
Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, ultimately, it's the state that's going to have the final say, regardless of what we say, essentially. The state's going to make up their own mind.
I just think the Training and Ed Committee did due diligence to this project and came up with a recommendation based on the information that they looked into. And yes, I'm on it, but I think we should support the committee that was charged with the task of reviewing the information. Let the state make the decision from there if they choose to do otherwise.
Do we know why U of R gave up their course sponsorship?
They weren't making ends meet.
Their expenses far exceed MCC's. That was one issue. The other issue is that it's not the direction they want to take that program. They're focusing on advanced classes.
So if Henrietta comes online and their classes are incredibly successful because people really enjoy the sim experience, just hypothetical, and then Monroe classes are no longer as popular because of a difference, that is a financial impact to you, or is that not a financial impact to you?
That would certainly be a financial impact, sure.
So-
Among other things. So it would be a financial impact to the organization, but that was one of the things that we didn't focus hard on. We focused on providing education to the students. So it would hurt us financially, but ultimately it would hurt the students by not having the ability to take classes or having more offerings.
But the classes would be there still.
But not all students are willing to travel, as we've learned.
So, Elizabeth, something I was thinking about that is to go along with that is, I'm not sure we can look at it as and this would be interesting if someone asked earlier about the trend according to over time, but it's not a given that the number of students we taught this year and last year and the year before is going to be the same next year or the year after. If there's something that's done really well, it's possible that another course sponsor can be drawing from a student pool that wasn't in existence this year or the previous year or the year before. I just want to throw that out there as a thought, because when we're talking about a population of nearly 1 million people, if Henrietta is running one EMT class with 20 people in it, that is such a minor number of people out of that million that I don't think is beyond the realm of realistic possibility that those 20 people would not have taken an EMT class in the past. I'm not saying that's the case, but I think our whole discussion has sort of been in this context of we have 1,000 students that take EMT classes each year, and those 1,000 students get divided up. And I don't necessarily think that's the case.
I think the classes can still be offered, and the other course sponsorships have agreed to do it. Teach the classes at Henrietta, use the sim stuff. I think it's fantastic. There's great facilities, there's great equipment. Having the ability to generate a number is only one piece of the puzzle.
I look at it as education, having put kids through college as a choice of quality. So find out what their needs are, and then find out what's available and match it to the quality of the services. We're not limited by the number of universities or colleges. We're limited by the quality and the working relationship, or the the adherence of the student to that faculty and to that premises. And therefore, some people may lose students because something else is offered that may be of a level that they want. But I look at it as sort of the more the merrier. And if truly this region can only support 4 or 5, then wouldn't the weakest one falter? Would be my question. So I look at it like if you really have a choice of more choices is not necessarily a worse thing.
And I guess my point a little bit was also that the people in the room making the vote are going to have significant financial impact if this goes through, and I was questioning that.
Call the question.
All right, question's been called. Secretary.
Roll call. Reg Allen.
Abstain?
Bill Arnold.
Yes.
Donna Bailey. Thomas Bonfiglio.
Yes.
Jason Bortle. Alex Cook.
Yes.
Thomas Coyle. Deb Curran.
Yes.
Jeremy Cushman.
Yes.
Can I just, the motion was not reread before we call the, is everybody clear on the motion? Just since we're doing a roll call vote.
The motion is to approve Henrietta's application for co-sponsorship. Would you like me to start?
Based on that, has anybody whose name's been called want to change their vote? Okay. Continue.
Tim Sopransky.
Yes.
Karen Dewar.
Abstain.
Tim Frost. Yes. George Glessner.
Yes.
Aaron Horowitz.
No.
Mike Hoskins.
Yes.
Julie Jordan. Ronald Kirchhoff.
No.
Tom Kirchhoff.
Yes.
Gordy Kluber.
Abstain?
Elizabeth Murray.
Yes.
Mick Nolte. Bill Palma.
Abstain.
Mark Philippi.
Yes.
Eric Rathfelder.
Yes.
Glenn Williams.
No.
Motion passes 14 yes, 3 no, 5 abstentions, 3 absentee.
All right. Thank you for the discussion, and thank you for your committee's work on this. It's greatly appreciated. It was a lot of time by everybody in that committee. I would encourage the folks that showed up for this discussion to show up for all the meetings. So that would be great if we could get that kind of participation. Okay, so we had a clarification on the AMR rural metro. Apparently there was a application. So the FNC has been considered approved by the New York State Department of Health. Therefore, we need a motion to approve the transfer of the CON. And Tim motions, Alex second. And we're doing a roll call vote on this one as well. And my apologies to both Rural Metro and AMR for this happening. Thank you.
Reg Allen.
Yes.
Bill Arnold.
Yes.
Donna Bailey. Thomas Bonfiglio.
Yes.
Jason Bortle. Alex Cook.
Yes.
Thomas Coyle.
Yes.
Deb Kern.
Yes.
Jeremy Cushman.
Yes.
Tim Sopransky.
Yes.
Karen Dewar.
Yes.
Tim Frost, yes. George Blessner.
Yes.
Aaron Horowitz.
Yes.
Mike Hoskins.
Yes.
Julie Jordan.
Yes.
Ronald Kirchhoff.
Yes.
Tom Kirchhoff.
Yes.
Gordy Kluber.
Yes.
Elizabeth Murray.
Yes.
Mick Nolte. Bill Palma.
Yes.
Mark Philippi.
Yes.
Eric Rathfelder.
Yes.
Gwen Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 22 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions, 3 absentee.
All right. Welcome, AMR. All right. Any other business for the good of the organization? Mark.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, the ballots that were submitted for officer, of course, all three officers on the ballot.
All right. All right. Once again, thank you. Our next meeting, remember, is not the third Monday. It is the fourth Monday to avoid the holiday week. So we'll see you on the 25th. Everybody enjoy their holidays. Be safe. And thank you again for everything this year. It was greatly appreciated. I need a motion. Julie and Tom Coyle. Thank you.